Last week, I found myself stranded in New Mexico, but I met up with a subscriber and he took me on a cool nature hike where we explored an abandoned nuclear facility. Monday morning, I left my van at the mechanic to get it diagnosed. It seemed like a fairly simple repair, but he was not willing to do it himself, so I decided it was time to take matters into my own hands. Now, I happened to be meeting my dad and cousin up here in Los Alamos, and so we found a campsite that was only 8 miles from town. It was forest land, and so we decided to set up camp up above Los Alamos and attempt the repair ourselves.
So this is camp. We're parked above Los Alamos. Los Alamos is out that way on the back side of the cliff. Here's my dad's tow vehicle. Here's my van. I got it up on blocks on this side, got it leveled out. I put a tarp down underneath it to, that's where I'm gonna be working today, so a tarp down on the ground. And then here's my dad's RV. He's got the big Class A RV. All parked in right there. And then over here in the distance, this white van, that's my cousin Lonnie. He just started traveling about 6 months ago, and so it's kind of cool that we all happen to be up here in New Mexico. And I definitely feel really grateful that I didn't break down by myself somewhere, but I got help from some family. So today's the day we're going to go ahead and dig into this thing. I'm definitely going to pull that component out from underneath the van. The first thing is, from all the stuff that I read online and the videos I saw, I need to have the vehicle in neutral, and I need to have the parking brake off. And then also I need to have the rear end has to be lifted up, at least on one side. Basically, we need to free up the drive line and take any kind of pressure off of it so that it can be removed. Well, here's what we're working with. They have some pretty nice rocks out here, so I did what I could. I got one in the front and one in the back of the front wheel there. And then on the dualies, I got a big rock in the front and in the back of each tire. Now that won't totally immobilize it, but that should just keep it from rolling. It might move, a couple inches each way, but shouldn't move much more than that. And then up here I have leveling blocks on this side, that plywood. But I got a rock there, and then I got a little rock stack back there. So I don't know, we'll see. These are the tools I carry with me at all times, and so I'm going to attempt to use only these tools and see how far I can get, because basically you want to try to be self-sufficient and have the capabilities to do this kind of work on your own without needing help, because sometimes you do break down by yourself. So the first thing I gotta do is I gotta jack up this side of the rear end so I can get that tire free and take the tension off the drive line. I'm gonna break these loose before I jack it up, because the breaking loose is gonna put a little torque on everything. So the initial goal was to use only my own tools, because you want to make sure you're prepared. And I instantly realized that I needed a 1/2 inch to 3/8 adapter. So right out the gate, I failed. I had to break down and borrow one. So I borrowed this 1/2 inch to 3/8 adapter from Dad. So that lets me use this 12mm 12-point socket on my 1/2 inch drive breaker bar. What's that beeping? Is that your battery charger?
Who, me?
No, Dad.
Oh.
You hear that? Is that me? Do I have a tumor?
I'm not hearing it.
Really?
What are you doing way back there?
Well, I just want to, this is where the jack is, but I want to break them loose before I jack it up.
Oh, yeah.
Because you think you might have to take that part loose?
I might have to, yeah. So I'm not going to pull them out, but I just want to break them loose.
Oh, okay. So are they breaking?
Well, I'm just getting started, man.
Okay. I didn't know what you needed. Bigger bar or that.
Well, there I already smashed my knuckles, so we got that out of the way. Do you hear that, Dad? Can you see what that is? Is that my van? Or is that your drill batteries? What's that beeping?
Yeah, that's my little inverters.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure I wasn't me. So here's an update. I already, right out the gate on the first bolt that I tried to loosen up, I smashed my knuckle and let the blood out. So, you know, we got that out the way. Now we're ready to do some work. All right. Yeah, this is nice, like 3/4 ply or maybe 7/8. That's not 3/4. That might be 7/8 or 1 inch or something.
That's 5/4. That's what they call
Five inch and a quarter.
Yeah.
5/4.
You know where this came from?
Homesteader.
No, I was parked on a casino down there in Yuma,
Okay.
and there was a half sheet of this laying there.
Uh huh. Oh, down at the queue.
Not that one. Yeah, the Paradise.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, so I wanted to know, you know, I wanted that, but it was too big. So I took this 4x8 sheet and I took it down to Home Depot right there,
Nice.
and I had them cut it. And I took it all these pieces, like 9 pieces up to her, and I says, "How much is this? You know, how much does it cost? You know, how much do I owe you for him sawing this up?" And she looked and she looked and she looked in the book and she couldn't find it. She says, "Well, I guess it's free."
Yeah. Sweet.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a score, man.
Yeah.
Okay. So that looks like a pretty straight up and down. Yeah, there's a lot more clearance back here.
Yeah.
I've tried this before in the front and I could barely fit it under. But I might have been in, you know, uneven or something. All right, so here we are. We got the drive line ratcheted up just to hold it so as I take the bolts out, it doesn't put pressure on the remaining bolts and it doesn't fall and hit my exhaust. And there's this cool steel beam that just runs right above that drive line, so I just threw a wrap around it. That was super convenient. So these bolts have already been broken, so now I can just use this impact with the 12.12 millimeter and it just spins them right out. And that was the plan.
Nice.
Does it nice and fast.
Yeah.
And I'm not working out my wrist. Maybe not that one. That one might need a little more elbow grease. Let's try this. Yep, that one comes out.
I got the. Okay.
Is that it? Is that side?
One
No,
more,
this side
yeah.
here. Sweet.
Okay.
Okay, so we got the driveline actually came off pretty simply. After we pulled those bolts, Dad just used a pry bar and just kind of stuck it in and it just popped it back. And then the nice thing actually about this carrier bearing and this U-joint in between is we're able to fold the driveline down out of the way without having to remove the whole thing. Oops. So that's super, that's actually super convenient. So now we got to take off those 4 bolts off the end of that transmission parking brake.
Okay.
So here's where we get into F around and find out. Now, I've never worked on this component before, and I talked to a few mechanics, and they said if I pull off these 4 bolts here that are actually attaching the transmission e-brake assembly together, then I could just slide off the housing and I could pull all the guts out and then put it back together and just bolt everything back, and I wouldn't have an emergency brake. However, everything that was inside that was causing noise should be gone, and it should allow me to go back to Texas without any trouble. So that was the first thing that I attempted. Out of the 4 bolts, one was super stubborn, so I borrowed a grinder from Dad and attempted to cut the head off. And I did cut the head off, but I was unable to free it up. And so I went ahead and moved on to the other 3 bolts, thinking that if I loosened them up, maybe I could work it off. But what I found is, even though the other 3 bolts initially broke loose, they would not release. They just spun indefinitely. So something was going on inside this unit. There must have been some kind of keeper or washer that was holding these bolts in place. But basically, all this work you're looking at right here, this was for naught. It didn't end up doing what I wanted to. So we had to just move on to the next step of the plan, which was completely replacing the entire parking brake transmission assembly. So at this point, I had already removed the 4 bolts on the front of the assembly that connect to the drive shaft. The only other things keeping this unit in place is the emergency brake cable, and then there was about 6 bolts that connect the back side of this unit to the transmission extension tube. So all I have to do is remove these 6 bolts, remove the emergency brake, and the unit should slide right out.
All right, so here we are. This is the view you guys have been used to, looking at the that transmission e-brake piece. And so what we've had to do is take apart these bolts right here. There's 6 of them. These guys, there's 6 of these. And so we've had to take these 6 off. And then once we have 2 left just to hold it in place, but once we pull these, then this whole emergency brake assembly should come loose. We'll pull those 2 bolts out, and hopefully we can just lift that piece right out. We got that there on the left there, that's the driveline end. On the right there, that's the rear transmission extension tube. So what's missing is the emergency parking brake device. It's been removed. And so now we can look up inside the transmission. Looks good. I don't see any little metal flakes. I don't see any parts or pieces. It looks fine to me. So here's the emergency parking brake assembly. This is the portion that connects with a spline into the transmission extension tube. And then on the back side is the 4 bolts that we couldn't get them off. That's a bummer, because I think that might have been a quick, easy fix. But, you know, the things are rarely quick and easy, aren't they?
So at this point, the transmission brake assembly is out, and we're just waiting on the new one to be shipped into Cameron's house from Amazon. Dad and cousin Lonnie were really perplexed as to why we couldn't get this unit open, so they decided to spend some of our free time hammering on it and try to work with it, but we never did get it open. So the mystery of what happened inside that parking brake will forever remain a mystery. So next time, we're going to go ahead and install the new parking brake assembly, and we're going to take this thing for a test drive and figure out if that was actually the problem. Because keep in mind, I didn't really diagnose this myself. I'm just relying on a small town mechanic that said this was the problem, but also didn't want to repair it himself. So stick around, and there might be some more surprises in store. I'll catch you next time.